Hey everyone, today we have a Exmark Tri-Vantage Big Mulch Discharge mower here, and I, to be honest, have no idea why it's here. Just joking. So someone had messaged me if I could fix it. I worked with them before. I said sure, what's going on? And they said they weren't really too, they were basically going to show me. I'm like, okay. So we scheduled the time. That time came and went about 4 or 5 hours later, and the person showed up when I was gone and messaged like, where are you? I told him I had left because we said to meet by 9 and it is now almost 3. And he said, well, I have to get going, can I leave it here? And so here it is. I messaged Rick real quick, what's going on? He said, just isn't running. Okay. And then later he said he was going to be gone for a while. He's going to be coming back in a couple days. So I decided to at least take a look and see what's going on. Now, here's the thing. These tanks are vented, and that plastic, it's not a healthy thing to have on there. That means it's leaking, and obviously with this pretty substantial crack, probably is the reason why it's leaking. So if you do not have a vent hole in there, you know when you were a kid and you would take like a straw of soda and you would play with putting your finger on the top of it and then letting it, fall on the table and get in trouble for it later, probably because ants are coming? Same thing, except instead of the straw and the soda, it's a gas and fuel line. It's not going to go, so we might have a fuel delivery problem. That could be one of many problems. That plastic, however, doesn't look too new, so I mean, it has been hot, but I don't think it's that hot to make it look that old, so we might have other problems that came from that problem. But first things first, a while back I had ordered a gas cap. That's the wrong one for the one I needed, and I think it might fit this one, so let's give it a try. I'm starting to think it's not, but let's try it anyway. Seems a little bit too small. The tank is empty. Too small, I think. I think the threads are also the wrong size. Let me check if I have another one. Oddly enough, the cap that fit on there was I believe off a different Kawasaki, an older Kawasaki. Could be wrong. Could have been something else. Maybe a Kohler. Well, either way, it's the big one. No, it is a Kohler because this is really hard to put on. But like I said, this one is obviously leaking, and I was looking for a hole in here to see if that was any type of, I don't know, possibility of them knowing you need to have air going through the tank, but there's no hole. So I think what ended up happening is they put that on there because it's leaking, and all of a sudden it ran for a little bit, stopped, and now it's brought here. I wish I could verify that by asking the person, but like I said, they are gone. They are out of cell coverage apparently for a while. So I put a little fuel in there. The fuel line is actually pretty decent. The fuel cut off or shut off is on the on position, so it should be filled up, or at least the carb should be filled up. We potentially, if that was our problem, should start. Now I'm probably, from the looks of it, will be doing a change of oil and whatnot. There is oil. It's a little dirty, not too bad. It's a tad high. I smelt it to see if there's any gas. I did not smell gas, so it's a little odd why it would be. Unless they had tipped it over and that was their way of stopping it from leaking. I don't know, but onward. Press lever to latch, pull bar, and hold. has a clutch, I believe. So I don't need to push anything. And of course it's on the other side. Forgive me, I did hurt my arm, so this might be a little awkward looking. Oh my god, what is that? Well, I don't smell any gas. We might have a hydro lock or maybe just a stuck piston. Liquid cannot compress, at least not the liquid I know of. And fuel is a liquid. Now, does your engine compress air and fuel together to get, create the explosion? Yes, well, not create, but to create the necessary power. Yes, it does. But there's too much liquid. Your piston just hit it and then ram itself in there. It won't move any further. When that happens, you have something called a hydro lock. Your piston will just sit there. Oh. Oh my. That's fuel. I'm gonna look at the fuel in the tank. It's not a whole lot. So I think what had happened is we hydro locked it when putting fuel in there. Oh, I guess we did. See how right here is wet? So because this is level, the carb is going to fill and fill and fill. The needle's not working properly, and then it's just going to need to go somewhere. And it's either going to go this way or that way. If it goes that way, you have a hydro lock and potentially oil and fuel mixing together behind the piston into the actual sump. So that's bad. That's why a lot of the old ones you'll see have like a hole on the bottom, kind of like a little drain, kind of. It's supposedly a support, but also helps drain it. So we need to take that carb off. This is kind of a rough one to take off, but I want to make sure it still spins too. You're gonna live dangerously. It does. Okay, good. So yeah, that's what we had. We had a hydro lock. So let's take off that carburetor. Hopefully it doesn't come and bite me, but I remember these weren't as hard as I thought they were, but I believe you can take this off and this just snaps into place. Definitely smells like gasoline in here, that's for sure, after the hydro locking problem. This kind of brings up a interesting safety thing I want to... Oh boy. I turned off that fuel too. It's just flowing out. Yeah, there was a hydro lock or a bad needle problem there. Well, I guess it's the same thing, but anyway, I have a door open, a fairly large one that I'm not more than 4 feet away from. When you do stuff like this, don't do it in an enclosed area. You're just going to cause unnecessary danger to yourself. You don't really want to have any problems because you didn't take the necessary precautions. I mean, while yes, it's not 100% toxic, but you can deprive yourself of oxygen. There we go. Ugh. There's even some plastic in there. Like RTV or something. Very peculiar. Okay. So if it's winter time, I know it sucks. Probably aren't working on a lawnmower in the winter time, but if you are, keep a door open and be close to it. Have a vent, you know, whatever you need to do. Just don't do it where you don't have a good amount of airflow. No one wants to be that person that got stuck in their garage and their wife, girlfriend, kid, boyfriend, I don't know, whatever you have, neighbor, dog walker, come home and find you on the floor passed out because you were in a small little garage spilling like 3 gallons of gasoline, working with carb spray, and it just got to be too much because you've done it every single day this year, and eventually it's just too much. Anyway, let's take this over to the carb station. I'm probably jinxing myself, but the fact that the fuel doesn't smell like gas, which tells me there's probably wasn't a whole lot of gas in there to begin with. It's probably a good thing. Excuse me, the oil, not the fuel. Wow, that's really on there. Did they like glue this too? You know what, we're not going to mess with it because, yeah. Let us grab a 10 millimeter. Do I have my cup somewhere close by? Aha. Isn't that interesting? Little to no fuel in the bowl. Well, not yet at least. I use my blade remover tool to... Ooh, see that color? That was in there before. Oh boy. Oh man. I have fuel coffee. Oh my god. That is something else. Do you... Oof. It's just chunks. At least that doesn't look all that bad. Well, I can definitely understand why I was having a hard time. Okay. This one might not be savable. We're gonna scrape as much as we can out of here. Cover your ears and eyes if you're me. So at least we have something to kind of hopefully have a grip for a screwdriver. So we're not just trying to shove a clean screwdriver down a dirty hole, which I know. It's not the first time you've done that. I'm gonna get something a little bigger. It feels pretty good actually. Before we do that, we are going to put in, because it's mainly rust, a little bit of penetrant. That's really not going to matter if that's there. It's still going to grip. The only thing it's going to do is help us. Okay. There we go. We are in business. Another thing that cleaning it out does is it kind of cleans out the threads, so when you do take this out, you're not pulling a jet, a brass jet of all things, through junk. Okay, maybe we just take a good normal size hammer for this type of thing. Slowly moving. I like to kind of knock it around a little bit. If you've never seen these are pliers that don't have a pivot point right here, so the jaws open parallel to each other. They're pretty good for stuff like that. See? And they come in different sizes. This is a small one, or maybe a medium. Maybe I didn't buy the small one. I don't remember. So that is suspect. Or I usually don't wash the needle, but is this a rubber tip? Yes, it is. I won't wash that. Why was it failing so much? Oh, there's a big chunk of rust down the center of it. That's why. That will do it. Now, will this emulsion tube come out? So far, it's being cooperative. That's surprisingly easier than I was expecting. Is there a jet or something we need to take out? There's nothing on the top. There's this one. Unfortunately, we're probably going to have to break that off. There we go. That's off. Just have to take off this little piece. There we go. Okay, so we have half, one and a half, almost two screws in. So I'm going to take the bowl and clean it as best as I can. Try to get all the scale out of there. Put this into the carb cleaner. Put everything, including the jet, the emulsion tube, and why not even this, the float. I'm going to clean this first. Might even have to wire brush, or even sandblast it. Got it all out, and that looks a lot better. There's still some staining in there, but it's gonna have to do. There's one spot that I was a little worried about, and it's for a good reason. There's a little hole right there. That's just going to instantly leak. Very well might be the reason why it was a little rough to begin with. So then how do we replace it? Well, we tried to find one that's something similar. It has to be able to fit in there. That's going to be the hard one. Let me do a little investigation. Okay, so here's the problem. I try to do the bowl, and the bowl, you know, they have a coating on the outside of them. This isn't the same one, but you can tell it's just, there's definitely a coating. There's definitely a coating on the inside, but there's also a coating on the outside. I think that might be zinc based on how it likes to weld. I had welded up a hole on a Tecumseh carb once. You know, that's really thin, and it did work, but we're getting into the realm of sketchy pretty fast when you start welding up stuff like that. So to avoid going down that avenue, I bought a new carb, and if we need to, we can take the jet out of the old one so it's jetted properly, put it in here, and we don't have to worry about it. The passageways on these, I mean, they're so simple. In fact, there's even an adjustment right there where the old one had it, and it's on the side that's not facing a fuel line, so what you can even do it while it's running. Probably shouldn't. The technical way you're supposed to do is turn it off, adjust it, turn it back on, adjust it. I personally just clamp the bail down and let it run, assuming that it doesn't have a clutch, and then if it does, you just let it run. In addition, it came with some gaskets, some that don't have that blue junk all over it, or orange, or whatever it was. So that's good. Obviously this one is for right there. I don't know why there's those holes right there, but that's how that's supposed to go. And that one is the perfect size for the carb right there. Is there a plate? To double check if there was a plate, but there might be a plate where the second was needed. It's been a couple days, but if there is, we'll look at it. In fact, is this the... No, it's a different one. In addition to that, I have a new air filter here for it. Because the old one, I mean, wow, yes, it would filter air, just wouldn't be the greatest. Now, here's the thing on this one. You know, I'm totally down for getting OEM equipment. I really am. But for air filters, I generally don't. For the idea of this, I mean, I like to give a competitive price to the people that I work with. Now, I tell them, I ask them when I do stuff like this, they say they want to tune up, and let's say it's for Honda. I'm like, do you want me to get the Honda filter, NGK plug, everything, or just the generic? What would be your need, or what would you want? And most of the time, they usually say the generic one. Well, the other half of the time they ask me what's the difference, and I say usually price. When it comes down to filters, plugs, there's no exception. You should definitely get the one you should. But with filters, it's pretty decent. I mean, these are pretty good. Having said that, if you get the non-generic one, it's going to take like 2 weeks to get here. This took 3 days. So what we are going to do is just take a look at this one to make sure it's the right size. It does look like it is. I took this model number which is a 11029-7021. I found this one. This is supposed to be the same, and it has the pre-filter, so we should be good to go. I'm going to install the filter, install the carb, and then we're going to give it a pull and a test and see if it works out. I'm going to apologize in advance. I, for whatever reason, can't find my lower camera stand, and this is as low as it's going to go, so we're going to put this on, and this spring just fits in this little ridge over here, or cutout. And this is the choke. That doesn't go right there. There we go. Now we look. Okie dokie. Looks like we're good to go there. We just need to put the bolts in. And the fuel line, which is over here. We should be set. And put on another gasket because the one came off the carb. Just put the fuel line on now. It might dribble a little bit, but that's okay. Now, for the fuel, or excuse me, for the oil filter, I have this Kawasaki oil filter that I'm pretty sure is the same, that pretty much any Kawasaki of this general size, or perhaps even larger, takes. That should be the same. Let's see here. 49065-0724. Why Kawasaki has to be the one that with the longest model numbers, who knows. Okay, so now it's important to mention we're putting this on first. Be helpful if you can see this. We put on that oh, that's why there's the holes there. It has little guides. See, sometimes it's just a little bit of effort and we'll figure it out ourselves. We're gonna put this back gasket on. This part's usually not the funnest. Okay, I need to be where you are, so I'm just going to put this on. I'm going to wedge this in there and get it going. So, tip on doing this, when you tip it up, make sure you get the breather hose into its little socket. If you tighten it, you'll never be able to put that in. Huh. Got it installed. My arm is still a little messed up, so it's going to be interesting, but we'll give it a try. Man, it is hot. It's like a heat wave. It's 108 today. It's like 3 days of this. I'm literally dripping in sweat. Problem with said dripping in sweat is the fact that by the time it's done and over with, you are kind of acclimated to it, and then the fall comes, and the next thing you know, it's too cold. Okay. I need to be cleaned a little bit. As well as the plug does have to be put back in, so let me go do that. Now that I had plenty of time to dry and the plug is in, let's see what we have here. It is on choke. but the fuel has not been turned on. That does help. Let's give that a moment. Fill the bowl. Not that type of bowl. So I'm not going to let this run very long. I'm just going to point this out because while the oil didn't smell like gas, there was a whole lot of it in there before in the cylinder head. So undoubtedly some of it had made its way in there. I did leave the oil fill or the dipstick out for 2-3 days, however long it took to get here. So I'm hoping that a lot of the gas has evaporated by now, but needless to say, it does need an oil change no matter what. So I'm not going to let it run very long. But I did smell it, and like I said, it doesn't smell like gas. Okay. Okay, well, the wheels work. The blade clutch is definitely a tad on the stuck side, but it's gotten better. It doesn't sound like it's at a full RPM range though, but I'm gonna take it outside, let it run for a little bit after I change the oil. But it's really about it. That needs to be done. Line the blade sharpening and all that nonsense. But yeah, I think after this I'm gonna let it run, change the oil. Well, I'm gonna change the oil now, and then yeah, sharpen the blade and should be it. So if you have an Exmark that's been outside for a really long time and you need to change the carb or clean the carb or take something off the carb, then this is definitely how you're going to want to do it. But other than that, it's a good little machine. It does have a blade clutch, so that's convenient. Yeah, I think that's about it. If you like what you see, keep watching, subscribe. I'll catch me on the next video, and have a good day.